So cell phones, mobile phones, that's about 1.1 billion a year. Earbuds is about 300 million.
Wow.
Smartwatches is about 150 million. So there's big markets out there right now. As we discussed, we are expecting 2025 to be about 9 million for smart glasses. If they land the technology right, if this becomes the device through which you access AI, if you get the augmented reality right, this could become people's default device. And then at that point, you're looking at the mobile phone market.
Hi, everybody. I'm here with Frederick Stanbrell today. He's from IDC, which is a leading market research firm. And they look at a lot of different categories. In fact, I think they research just about everything in the world. But Freddy, where do you fit within the IDC universe?
So I cover wearables across the EMEA market. So I'm looking at smartwatches, earbuds, and more specifically right now, smart glasses. As the market's taking off, I'm paying a lot of attention. I recently wrote an article about it. I think you enjoyed. So yeah, right now I focus on everything, but smart glasses are very interesting right now.
I did enjoy it. Yes, I did enjoy it. It was a great article. And I'm really happy to see that this type of coverage is starting to take off. And I think it's just a sign of what's happening in the market. I think there's demand for smart glasses research because people want to know what's going on with this rapidly growing market.
Yeah.
As the lead researcher here for IDC, why do you believe smart glasses, have a potential to transform industries and daily life? And, basically what makes this market unique from your vantage point?
Right now, it's a very exciting time to be in the smart glasses market. We see growth rates of over 100%. So in 2023, we saw a growth rate of 120%. In 2024, we saw a growth rate of over 160%. And then we're projecting 2025 growth rate of over 220%. So it's a real growth area. We're seeing an awful lot of companies coming into the area. And you've seen the first big devices being released. So Meta with the Ray-Ban second division or second type glasses, they've sold over 2.7 million of them so far. And they're really beginning to break through into the public consciousness. And in many ways, smart glasses are a more intuitive device type than a smartphone. Because a smartphone is essentially a smart brick that's in your pocket. But smart glasses can be technology straight in front of your eyes. So you can have a massive screen in front of your eyes that's projecting out in front of you. So you could project a film onto the side of a massive building if you wanted to. And you've also got strategic things like a microphone very close to your mouth. You've also got speakers very close to your ears. And so as we increasingly see AI taking over the world, having the microphone and the speakers very close to your mouth and your ears is actually very beneficial, especially when you're trying to get information. You don't have to pull your phone out of your pocket anymore and look things up. So it's far more intuitive.
Yeah. I like to think about how, human beings are built, right? And our five senses, and all five of the senses are localized right here on the face, including touch comes from your brain, right? The neurosystem. So when you think about where does AI want to be, it wants to be where all the context is happening. And if you think of just about how humans are designed with all of our senses being located right here, it just, to me, there's like a beauty and an elegance to this is where the context for an AI and human AI interface is likely to happen. And we've talked about this, and you just talked about Meta hitting 2.7 million units. I think Luxottica has announced, I know they've announced that they intend to ramp up to 10 million units a year just for that product line. And so it's already becoming a very relevant market. From a size perspective, those growth rates of 100% over 100% year over year the past 3 years is already and accelerating. I mean, that's wild. So in addition to the numbers, let's talk about trends. What key trends are you seeing in the smart glasses space that are shaping the future?
Okay. So part of the reason why smart glasses are only just coming to the fore right now is that the technology hasn't really been there before now. So your microphones, your speakers, your cameras, your batteries, they were all a bit bulky, they were all a bit clunky, and you always had another device that was better. So if you wanted a better picture, you take out camera and you take a picture, or you take out your phone. Or if you wanted better audio, then you put in your earbuds and you'd have better audio. But now we're seeing it's actually really getting quite good now. You would bring it together in one device type. So you only have to buy one device rather than maybe three. And you're beginning to see with the AI stuff being integrated, you're really seeing trends towards this being an AI device, where phones might not be currently.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think it's the convergence of three different trends. One of them is probably the least obvious, actually. So one trend is just the miniaturization of electronics, whether that's input, output, whether that's power management like we bring, whether that's RF, but you have to miniaturize to fit inside of this form factor. Two is AI, the voice assistants and the power that we now have with various LLMs, and the AI just makes it so much more impactful than, the former voice assistants like Alexa and Siri. And then the third thing, which I think is a little less obvious, but so important in this space, is the fashion trend. So like you can't build things to go on people's faces without thinking about the fashion angle. So that's something you've looked at or thought about in this market.
Yes, absolutely. So we've seen previous models in like 7 years ago or so. Google released the Google Glass. It was a very impressive device. It had camera. It was very impressive, technologically speaking. But have you seen the thing? I would not be seen dead wearing it. But the Ray-Ban Meta and a lot of the other devices, like the Huawei devices, the Xiaomi devices, the Luxottica nuance audio device, they are really taking style into account now. And so it's becoming a bigger and bigger thing. You really have to get a broad market appeal. Consumers have to want to put it on their face.
Yeah. My icons here are actually the people from EssilorLuxottica. So Francesco Malari, the CEO, or Matteo Battison, who's the chief design officer, they are, they've been doing fashion for decades at EssilorLuxottica, and they're now integrating electronics. So they're coming at it from the fashion side, whereas most of the rest of the competitors here are coming at it from the technology side. So the companies you listed, Xiaomi, Huawei, Meta, Amazon, Google, they're like putting technology on our face, whereas EssilorLuxottica has been putting fashion on our face with some lens technology for decades. And I just think the convergence of the two, and you see it manifest in the Ray-Ban Meta or Oakley Meta partnership. You need both in order to be successful. And I'm going to butcher the quote a little bit, but Francesco Malari said, you need technology to be invisible, to be wearable. And I just think that really sums up the market quite a bit. And it also raises some of the challenges in the market. So, we've been talking about how much is growing and how the trends are really picking up. But what are the challenges that are, preventing adoption or the massive scaling of smart glasses? And what do you think needs to happen to overcome those barriers?
I think a huge challenge we're seeing is consumer awareness. People just haven't been aware that smart glasses were around. And we're seeing a real big breakthrough right now. As we've been talking about in this call, Meta have partnered with EssilorLuxottica to do the Ray-Bans and the Oakleys. And EssilorLuxottica basically have a monopoly over the normal glasses market.
Sure.
So they own a huge number of shops, thousands of shops all across Europe, all across the world, really, across the US. You try to walk into it.
In the US, we have Lens Crafters and Sunglass Hut and Target Optical. What do you guys have in Europe?
Similar Sunglasses Hut and some Ray-Ban stores and stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay.
But they're all basically owned by EssilorLuxottica, or most of them are. And so you try to walk into an airport right now, what you're going to be hit with in the duty free, it's going to be Ray-Bans all the time. And if you walk into a glasses shop, there's always a Ray-Ban stand, smart Ray-Ban stand. And so that's really putting it in front of the consumer's eye. You're also seeing one of the trends that's been holding this back, as I've been talking about, is the technology. Up until now, it's been relatively primitive. You've had other devices that can do things better. But now, as we're saying, you're getting miniaturization, you're getting cameras that are better, you're getting battery life that's better, we've had a massive wave of open ear speakers or smart earbuds. Yeah. And that's becoming a massive thing inside all the wearables markets across the world. You're seeing Bose, Huawei, Soundcore, everyone's selling millions of these devices now. And that's another market that's taking off. And so the open ear technology around the speakers is really improving rapidly. And if you bring that all together, then you've got a device that's actually becoming very useful and very interesting. And if you bring in AI and you bring in augmented reality possibly down the line, then you're getting a device that could possibly compete with a mobile phone to be someone's dominant default device.
Well, that's certainly what Mark Zuckerberg's betting on and saying out loud, right? He's making that pretty clear.
Yeah. They're real reality labs that they actually are doing all this Quest and their Meta Ray Bans out of. It lost $16 billion last year. They are all in.
They're definitely all in. Because sometimes with these new technologies, there's a hype factor. And then there's the reality factor of like, am I going to really wear these every day, or am I going to wear them in a niche circumstance? And do I forget about them after 3 months? But overall, I'm very bullish. I love wearing the Ray-Ban Metas, the Nuance Audios. I've used those in loud restaurants. My hearing's pretty good, but it's still quite difficult in some very loud restaurants to hear people you're with. And so, like, I don't wear them all the time, but I do. I wear them for that. So I think it'll be interesting to see how people
Absolutely.
use them.
Yeah, everyone I've spoke to that has these devices, they rave about it nonstop. You see them wearing them all the time. It's from these conversations, I would say people are enjoying their glasses, and we're seeing the market accelerate. That's not really something you see if people aren't liking their devices. You usually see it get big and then stall. Right now, we're seeing it get big and then accelerate. So
Can you talk a little bit more about the market acceleration and maybe relative to other markets you've studied in the past? Like, is this, right in the middle, or is this like is your mind blown a little bit? Or are you like, it's not a big deal? Like, where does this fit compared to other big mass markets?
Um, it's not mind blowing, but I'm certainly surprised. It's, Nvidia's earnings every single quarter, they come out and then everyone's like, they couldn't have beat again. And then they beat again. It's the same kind of conversation we have in Meta. We set a massively inflated forecast and then they go and beat it. And then they go and beat it again. So we are seeing rapid growth in the market, and it is surprising us to the upside consistently. It's almost, yeah. So we keep on raising our forecast higher and higher and higher. So this is a rapid growth. It's still pretty small though. We're still only projecting something like 8 to 9 million units worldwide this year. But the growth rates, it kind of reminds me of what Jeff Bezos said when he was founding Amazon. He was looking at the growth rates of the internet and seeing hundreds of percent a year, thousands of percent a year. And that's what's drawing people in, because they're seeing the rapid growth. That's why Apple's interested. That's why Samsung and Google just teamed up to make the Android XR operating system for smart glasses and virtual reality goggles. So you are seeing a lot of big players being very interested in the market.
Yeah. I love those analogies to Amazon and Nvidia in major growth waves. Now you're raising the names of some companies that are anticipated to become players in the space, without talking about any specific plans. But as the competitive landscape grows, what do you think are going to be the major differentiators? Like, what will it take to become the winner or a winner in the smart glasses space?
I think, as with all technology, the best tech wins, right? The best tech and branding. And so Meta's got first mover advantage. Their technology is very good. It's being adopted by millions of users right now. And I think a big thing is going to be how well you integrate AI into these smart glasses. If you do that well, then the use case is there, then you can get the consumers on board, and then you can get some brand awareness. But I would point to, I believe that if you want to know what's going to happen in the future, you should probably have a little look at what's happened historically. And historically speaking, Apple wasn't the first to make a smartphone. They dominate the US, European smartphone market. They weren't the first to make smartwatches. They dominate the US and European smartwatch market. Same with earbuds. So I really wouldn't rule out Apple coming along with their big consumer brand awareness and then cleaning up the market. But right now, Meta, especially with their partnership with Luxottica, they have a massive advantage, first mover advantage, and they're in all the Luxottica stores. So that's another massive advantage. So hit on the tech, do the AI well, and brand awareness.
Yeah, Luxottica really brings the fashion side of the market, but also the retail leverage that most tech companies don't have retail like this. Maybe Apple has some high-end retail. Google's never been very good or at retail, or never prioritized it. Samsung doesn't have it. And so that's another interesting element of the fashion and then the retail to get it out to users. Because it's a little different, in my opinion, than a phone or even a watch, where you want to try glasses on and you want to see them on your face. And then they did their prescription glasses too. They you can post prescription lenses. So in that case, you literally have to go into the stores to get fitted. And so the retail advantage that you're bringing up is quite massive as well. I Technology will certainly play a huge role. Who has the best technology? But I think the retail, the brand, the fashion, all also will contribute to who will win here.
Yeah, especially when you're adopting a new device type, when you will want to try it out and just having it visible in front of you. Often when you've got nothing to do in an airport or something like that, just give it a go out, and then people end up buying.
Absolutely. So you get the benefit of talking to a lot of companies because you're a leading researcher in the space. So everyone wants to talk to you and, kind of tell you their plans and hear what you're hearing. What are some of the most exciting innovations happening right now in the smart glasses market? And, what's really pushing the boundary in your opinion?
Obviously, the integration of AI, if you can get it to be, so you can use the microphone and the speakers, so you can actually interact with AI. You've got a question, you want to use the camera to see what that building in front of you is, and you ask the Meta Ray-Bans what it is. That's massive. But another thing I'm really interested in is augmented reality. We've seen the Meta Orions, the Snapchat AR. They're showing augmented reality technology through see-through lenses, which will be absolutely massive because it just gives you a better integration with technology. You're able to do things like, if you wanted to cook something and you've got the ingredients laid out in front of you, it can literally basically put in your field of view, pick up that, draw it like that. And so you can do things like that. If you're trying to fix a car or something, it can point. If you're trying to get directions again, you can get a green arrow just hovering in the front of your screen. But there's so much more to it. You can play games, you can talk to people. It'll be just a new world.
Yeah. So I agree with you that the displays are kind of a missing piece right now. I mean, you can see them and there's some cool demos. And so you see the futures coming, but with the transparent lenses where, you don't see mine, but I can see it. And it's not a huge eye strain, and the fidelity of or the clarity, whether it's monocolor or a larger range of color. I think all of that display technology is fascinating to keep an eye on. It's also very power hungry, which overlaps with where we are as a company. I think that charging and power is not as sexy of a technology, but it's almost table stakes for making sexy or fashionable glasses because you can't have USB-Cs on them. It's hard to keep hiding the pogo pins in the nose bridges, which is where they hide the pogo pins for Ray-Ban. But if you've noticed, Ray-Ban and Oakley look almost identical, with the exception of the bottom 1/3 of the frames, and it's dictated by the electronics and the charging in there. So I think there's a lot of the heads-up display, the AI integration. I think camera technology, all the input and output technology, the haptic, the open ear speakers. There's just so much cool technology going into this. It'll be really fascinating to see how different companies integrate the technology, and also which companies become like technology owners, where they own a certain speaker technology and keep driving it forward, versus technology users or borrowers, where they rely on ecosystem companies like a TDK or an Amphenol or an NXP to deliver the technology versus owning it and driving it. So I think all of that's really interesting. Do you look at the supplier side of the market as well, like the companies I just mentioned, or do you focus more on the end use devices?
We're more end use devices. We're obviously interested a little bit in the suppliers, so we'll talk to them, but more end use devices. So we look at the sell-in of the market, and we're just kind of showing the trends of the market far more than digging very deep into the tech.
Okay. Can you give us so you talked about this year, I think you said about 9 million devices. Did you talk about over the next few years where you see it going?
Well, as I've said, this market's growing very rapidly. So right now we only predict or project for companies that are currently producing devices. So we've got Meta, we've got Luxottica, we've got people like Transcribe, Huawei, Xiaomi. So they're certainly in the market, they're certainly growing, but it's kind of like I see it as kind of a powder keg. It could go absolutely massive if they can get the devices working right with the right technology. The sky's the limit. Right now, I think we're projecting out to 2029, 18 million, but that's a low ball in my opinion.
So, so Freddie, what would be helpful? Can you share with us some other markets that are related, maybe wearables, earbuds, cell phones, whatever you deem to be kind of similar. And then let me know where you think smart glasses will eventually land. Is it going to be bigger than all of these? Is it going to be somewhere less than cell phones, but more than earbuds? Where do you think it will land?
Okay, so cell phones, mobile phones, that's about 1.1 billion a year. Earbuds is about 300 million.
Wow.
Smartwatches is about 150 million. So there's big markets out there right now. As we've discussed, we are expecting 2025 to be about 9 million for smart glasses. Making projection here will be very difficult, very, very difficult, because the technology is moving forwards all the time. As I've been talking about, if they land the technology right, if this becomes the device through which you access AI, if you get the augmented reality right, this could become people's default device. If you have 5G in there, if you're able to just walk out without a phone in your pocket, tethered to the glasses, this could become a default device. And then at that point, you're looking at the mobile phone market, looking at the 1 billion figure. If it doesn't quite get there, I expect it to grow significantly. I expect it to be somewhere maybe in the region of smartwatches to 100 million, possibly. But the margin for error is huge at this point because the market is literally just taking off right now.
Yeah, that's very fair. And I tend to agree with you. And if you listen to, again, some leaders in the space, Mark Zuckerberg has been clear of his belief that, and I think he's put a year on it, like 2030. He says that he thinks this could replace cell phones by then. To me, I think that's pretty aggressive, but maybe that sets the high bar of what could happen. Things are moving pretty quickly right now. If you haven't noticed, a lot of changes very fast. So maybe that's possible that it's a billion units, and cell phones and glasses live together, but cell phones are becoming a little bit more antiquated compared to the smart glasses. It's possible. I think Francesco Maleri has put out some estimates more as like a percentage of Luxottica's total glasses they sell. But I think he's said that he expects that in that same time frame by 2030, that half of their glasses could have electronics in them. And I might be getting that wrong. So we might need to double check that. But in my memory, I feel like I've heard him talk about that before, where half their glasses will have electronics by a certain time frame. And then if you look at the overall glasses market, not smart glasses, but glasses, if there's 8 billion people in the world, I've heard that about 25% of people should or could benefit from glasses. That's about 2 billion people right there from top down. And then if you say half of those should have electronics in them, whether that's for AI, power tinting. So some of the things that are happening now is like faster tinting lenses with electronics that stimulate it. And that's a billion units too. So you can get there in multiple ways to say maybe a billion units is not crazy. It might take more like a decade to get there, or than half a decade, but it seems plausible, and certainly in the hundreds of millions, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's easily plausible. I mean, you do have to try and sell something big if you're going to burn 16 billion a year on R&D. But yeah, I entirely take your point about the glasses users. Why not, right? Why not have tech in your specs?
Yeah.
It's going to cost similar price. It's only $300 or so to get the Meta Ray-Bans. Similar for other devices. Nuance Audio is more like 1,000. But still, if you're getting glasses anyway, why not put some tech in it?
Absolutely. So is there anything, I have 3 questions I like to ask every guest, same questions. But before I get into that, is there anything that you wanted to share with the listeners today that we haven't talked about yet?
I think we've covered all the main points. I'm really excited about AR and the AI integration into the devices. And I think we just have to highlight the area. This is a rapidly growing market, and the more we talk about it, the more we get it in front of consumers as an option, the more likely it is to grow. So yeah.
Cool. All right. So I'm going to ask you my 3 rapid fire questions. So you're probably going to, I know you don't prepare for these. No one gets the benefit of preparing. So gut instinct is what we're looking for here. There is no right answer for any of these. In your opinion, what's the most overrated feature right now in AI and XR?
Overrated feature. I don't know. I see so much potential. It's really hard saying things overrated. I'm deeply frustrated when using some of the AI models right now, because of some of the answers aren't quite correct. So that's annoying, but there's so much potential there and it's so new. I really can't say I'm cruelly disappointed with any feature because I think it's going to change. I think it's just going to improve from here.
What if we focused on where you've spent some time researching in VR headsets? So what's the most overrated feature? If I expanded from AI XR and said also VR, what's the most overrated feature in AI XR VR?
I think one of the most overrated things was when they were constantly, Apple was talking when they released the Vision Pro about you could wear it whilst you were at family gatherings to take recordings of the event, to be there in person. And that's something the glasses do way better. You don't want to have a big bulky thing in front of your eyes, possibly projecting your eyes. But yeah, something glasses do way better.
100% agree. All right. My second question, what's the most underrated metric that actually signals that now is the time for adoption?
Underrated metric. I would just point to the growth rates, really. I would just say so many people are liking the device. It's taking off so rapidly. This is a device you really have to pay attention to now, especially to the brands that we sell to. This is a device category that's really taking off. You've got growth rates projected of over 220% next year. So that's one data point I'd really highlight.
Absolutely. That's a hard one to argue against. And then finally, what's one misconception from the press or the public that you think is wasting the most time or distracting people from the true signal of what's going on
around smart glasses?
Yep.
I still think they're seen as gimmicky. I think that's kind of missing where we were hoping it heads to. So they're still seen as kind of like you listen to your music, you still got your camera. I think people still think of them as gimmicks. I still think they're written about as gimmicks, but we're beginning to see a world in which that could be your default device. And I think people should highlight that area. If you get 5G integration, if you get AR, if you get the batteries a bit better, then it really could turn into a default device rather than a niche gimmick.
I want it. All right. Any final words, Freddy?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Your insights are appreciated. And I look forward to continuing to follow your research and the trajectory of the market. And, in some ways, the market's arrived when big research brands like IDC start putting some weight behind it. So I appreciate you doing it. And I look forward to seeing how this market matures along with you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.